Let's talk facts about student debt. On the day President Biden announced a nationwide plan to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 worth of student debt per person, depending on your loan and your income. Here's a fact. Half of Colorado's public university grads will leave with debt, averaging more debt than what Biden's talking about forgiving. Almost 97% of households in Colorado would qualify for this debt forgiveness because they make under $250,000 a year. Another fact, Biden's plan addresses the burden of debt, not the current cost of college. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
Student loan forgiveness would not be needed if not for so many students needing loans. Half of Colorado Public University graduates leave school with debt.
That debt is about an average of about $26,000.
Dr. Angie Piccioni heads the state's Department of Higher Education, which wants to get the word out about government money students are missing out on.
We leave about $30 to $50 million a year back in Washington, D.C. that could be right here in the state.
She is talking about FAFSA, free application for federal student aid.
For the most part, you can get up to almost $7,000 a year, not have to be paid back. These are grants, not loans.
According to Piccioni, fewer than half of Colorado's graduating seniors complete FAFSA, among the lowest in the nation.
Of course, the application notoriously is too long, too invasive. They're trying to make it shorter, less invasive. Until then, we want to try to get students to complete it.
Compound interest is a beautiful thing.
Saving for college is another way to graduate debt-free.
You can save $10,000 and it's like borrowing $20,000.
Angela Beyer is the CEO of College Invest, Colorado's 529 college savings plan. Money you invest, perhaps so you won't need to borrow a loan that you hope a future president might forgive.
We're here for the children and the newborns and even high school students that haven't yet gone to college, and this loan forgiveness isn't going to be helping them, but savings will.
She tells me she likes to talk about College Invest as a program for hairdressers to Harvard. There's a program I learned about today specifically for children born or adopted after January 1st, 2020. College Invest will put $100 in an account if it's opened by the child's 5th birthday and will match up to $1,000 a year for 5 years, Kyle. So think about that versus borrowing and paying interest.
Absolutely. And I can tell you the program works. As somebody who had a baby during the pandemic, you just set it up online and away it goes.
I learned something else about private schools today, which you could use for a College Invest fund. Private schools, I asked DU. We talked about student debt for public universities averaging about $26,000. Last year, student debt from DU graduates, $21,000. Less dollars at the private school. That blew me away.
That number surprised me as well. I guess there's a lot of folks either getting great financial aid or their moms and dads are sitting on some serious cash when the kid goes to DU. All right. Thank you, Marshall. The student debt forgiveness plan drew a clear difference today in Colorado's race for the Senate. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet supports the idea. He said today that he wishes it had actually gone further. He wanted it to be fully paid for and pointed out that it does not solve the larger problem of the cost of college. Bennett's challenger, Republican Joe O'Dea, said that forgiving the debt for people making $125,000 a year or less was a giveaway to the wealthy.
It's a gift to rich Americans. He's pandering for votes. It's unbelievable to me.
O'Dea said that he worked to afford his college education. He attended Colorado State before he left school to run a construction company. College costs, we should note, have changed a bit since either of those two men went through college. A report last year from Georgetown University found the cost of college increased 169% since 1980. Colorado has seen some laughably inept recall efforts against Democratic politicians in recent years, stuff that did not get off the ground. The recall announced today is serious because the Republican operative who's behind it has the pipeline to the billionaire donors who could fund it. This time they're going after State Senator Kevin Priola of Adams County because he changed his party registration from Republican to Democrat. Priola was the most moderate Republican in the state Senate. He voted with Republicans on issues like gun rights and against abortion access, but he voted in favor of some of the Democrats' economic priorities. The recall against Priola was announced today by the conservative group Advanced Colorado Action and backed by the head of the state Republican Party. Republicans will need 18,291 votes in Priola's district to get the recall on the ballot, but it's not exactly clear where they will be gathering the signatures because he represents parts of Thornton, Brighton, and Aurora, but that district has been redrawn to include parts of Broomfield and North Glen. The old district leans Democrat. New one leans Republican. So if the decision from the Secretary of State is that the recall happens in Priola's new district, he would be more vulnerable. Why are Republicans doing this? Because they think that this one seat could affect control of the state Senate. A $1 million taxpayer-funded ad campaign featuring Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold is ending today. Her office tells me, in addition to that, they will not be spending more taxpayer dollars on ads featuring the secretary as she runs for re-election. The ads targeting election misinformation broadly feature Griswold side by side with her Republican predecessor, Wayne Williams. These ads were paid for with $1.1 million of your money from the federal Help America Vote Act. Griswold's current Republican opponent, Pam Anderson, herself a vocal opponent of election disinformation, said that the ads were just the latest example of Secretary Griswold using tax money to promote herself. Williams said that a condition of his participation was that the ad campaign end today to give some space before Election Day. Griswold's spokeswoman didn't directly respond when I asked if that's true, if that's why the ads are coming down today. She said the campaign was always scheduled to end today and reinforced it would be the last one paid for with taxpayer money. There are some small-town police departments in our state vanishing, like last officer out the door, turn off the light. Last week, the final remaining officer in Nederland resigned. A month ago, all 3 members of the tiny Springfield Police Department down in southern Colorado, they all called it quits. Steve Steger's been looking into what is driving people away from policing in small towns. And Steve, he came up with a couple of answers here.
All sorts of different things. The head of the Colorado Association of Police Chiefs told me today that pay is a major problem in recruiting officers for an increasingly more difficult and more scrutinized job. Head of that association is Louisville Police Chief Dave Hayes. He says that he's talked with the Nederland police marshal a lot over the last few months, the same marshal who announced her resignation last week. One of the biggest issues there, he says, is pay. They can't pay Denver salaries, and thus people can't afford to live in an area that lacks housing. In Springfield, the mayor told me pay is a big issue, but recruitment is tough because Springfield is so remote and convincing people to work there is a challenge. I asked Chief Hayes, with all of the open jobs in larger police departments these days, why would someone want to consider a job in a small one?
I think it's a chance maybe to get into police work and to do some real community policing where you may be the only 1 or 2 people on duty, and that when you do get a call, absent a real serious call like a sex assault or a homicide, chances are that you're going to work that case from the beginning to the end.
Springfield's mayor told me that they are currently interviewing police chiefs, and they expect they should have someone hired in a few weeks. In the meantime, the Boulder County Sheriff is helping there. Nederland has vowed to get its police department up and running, is working on an agreement with the Boulder County Sheriff in the meantime. As for solutions, Hayes says you got to offer more competitive benefits, like maybe a housing allotment. Pay for somebody's education if they send themselves through the police academy. He says that can cost upwards $10,000, $11,000. A lot of people are throwing it on a credit card. So maybe that you can kind of try to incentivize some police officers that way, but you have to do something to try to get some people in the door for what can be a really good experience in policing.
You know, it sounds like a lot of the challenges, certainly it's a difficult time to be in law enforcement with the social criticism that they're getting, but a lot of the challenges are the same thing that we hear in rural communities for all kinds of different jobs. But whereas, say, the hardware store might close or the grocery store might close, the idea of leaving an entire community without law enforcement, everybody perks up their ears and says, well, we can't have that.
It's difficult. And so Nederland and Springfield are 2 different stories here, because obviously in Nederland you have the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, which is a bit bigger. In Springfield, it's the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, which is already itself a small department trying to manage an even bigger caseload with the town of Springfield on top of that now. So yeah, I mean, you can't just shut down a police department. Maybe it's paring back some of the things that police officers do. Hayes said accident investigation, minor accident investigation. Maybe that's something that police don't need to handle. Citizens could do.
Like in Denver, they've got those civilian investigation vans. One pulled up in front of my house and I thought I was in trouble. All right, thank you, Steve. Douglas County is one of the wealthiest counties in Colorado by any measure. So that can sometimes lead us to forget that there are low-income Coloradans in Douglas County who are struggling to get by, especially older people in rural areas. That's why your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign this week supports Aging Resources of Douglas County. That nonprofit helps older Coloradans in Douglas County with transportation, with their yard work, by delivering them hot meals at home. For some of the people they serve, It's the only human contact or companionship that they will have over the course of a week. This nonprofit is starting a new program to offer both a delivered hot meal and also help around the house at the same time. Just a hand doing all the small things that can add up and allow seniors to live at home, to age and place where they want to be. Our donations are going to help them expand this work to more rural areas, places where a 20-minute drive to a grocery store may be out of the question for some seniors. They want to add one community after another when they have funding and volunteers. This nonprofit is not just fighting hunger. They told me that they're out there fighting isolation and loneliness, and they're fighting the misconception that everyone who lives in Douglas County is well off and doesn't need help. If you scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll send you that link to donate. We know that even $5 at a time adds up quick, so I'll match the first 50 people who chip in $5. So many of us, I think, know an older person who's in our life or who was in our life who would really benefit from frequent visitors, a hot meal, a hand around the house. Aging Resources Douglas County is going to do more of that with our help. Drivers who pass this, depending on their speed, may notice it's the spot where another cyclist was killed.
If the intersection doesn't get some protections, that'll prolong that anger and sadness.
A ghost bike and a call for change. An enormous project in Boulder County is done. The debris is finally gone, and it's a sign. I guess you can never be too careful. Next. There's a new ghost bike in Denver, which means another life lost on the roads. The all-white bike that stands at 13th and Syracuse remembers Steve Perkins. 2 weeks ago, a driver ran a red light, hit Perkins, and left him there to die. Today, his family and friends placed the bike, and they shared their memories of a loving husband and father.
There's some familiar faces here. I know for a number of you, this isn't your first ghost bike ceremony. This killing has to stop.
So we're at the intersection of Syracuse Street and 13th Avenue. We are here for a ghost bike ceremony on behalf of my twin brother Steve, who was hit and killed at this intersection exactly 2 weeks ago. I'm sad that I have to be here. I'm sad that I don't have a brother anymore. What would have prevented it would have been the person that hit him paying attention to what they were doing and following the rules and stopping at a stoplight. I can't forgive compounding the mistake of hitting my brother with the act of leaving the scene and just leaving him there to die. I can't comprehend how someone could do that. The best part was that I got to meet the guy that found Steve and stayed with him until the ambulance got there, and I got to give him a hug and say thank you. It's nice to know that there are people like Joel who stopped and rendered aid and were there for him, and he didn't have to die alone. So I don't know if Joel's going to get to see this, but thank you again, Joel. You don't know what it means to know that someone was with him. I think for a while it's going to be sadness and anger. And if the intersection doesn't get some protections, that'll prolong that anger and sadness. But I'll just have to ask the question, how many more people have to get hit and killed here before they decide that this neighborhood is a priority?
Police have still not found that driver, the person in the Ford Explorer who ran a red light, took another one of our neighbors. Reaching Coloradans who don't speak a lot of English is crucial during an emergency, and there have been kinks in the system meant to warn them. And it's a sign that some of us don't really grow out of teenage humor. Next. Emergency managers across the state have an issue. The systems that they use to send out emergency alerts, they're good in English, not so much other languages. So many of those managers rely on Google Translate, which is, sometimes so-so. Larimer County thought they had a better translation solution, but then that system had a new problem. The county uses an app called ReachWell to send messages in other languages. It's supposed to automatically connect to their normal alert system. The county's emergency telephone authority says the connection stopped working last week. After tests, the app started to work again, and then it spit out 8 old expired messages to people about flash flood risk that was long past. The county tells us they're going to stop using the automatic connection to the app for now. It means they're going to have to manually input emergency messages that have gone out in English so that they can reach people in other languages. Boulder County has finished one of the largest projects in that county's history. They have cleared the debris and ash from the Marshall Fire. It's a significant milestone and a long and slow recovery process. We're at the 8-month mark. The county says that it removed ash, debris, concrete, and waste from 566 homes. Those are all the homeowners who opted into the county-run debris removal rather than having it done privately themselves. Most of those lots are now dirt patches, though we are seeing some signs of rebuilding. The county says they hauled away 104,000 tons of ash, recycled 65,000 tons of brick and concrete, and another 2,400 tons of metal.
A really nice night on our hands, especially across the Denver metro area. Plenty of blue skies out there. Just a couple of high-level clouds. However, we swing the camera around, looking off to the west, into the foothills, the high country, some darker skies, and a couple of isolated showers still popping up at this 6 o'clock hour. Not a ton going on here around the I-25 corridor, but we have been monitoring a few isolated storms up in and around Larimer through Grand County. These now starting to fizzle out. Luckily, we did not have to deal with any kind of flash flooding today. However, this ridge of high pressure that brought us the heat today, it starts to scoot off to the east tomorrow. That's going to allow some more monsoon moisture to build back in, not just to western Colorado through the San Juans, but also some of that making its way back here to Denver. It's also interacting with the storm system lurking just to our north, so we should have some pretty nice showers coming through by tomorrow afternoon into the early evening, pretty much this time. As we look ahead toward tomorrow, 8 a.m., we'll kick off the day with plenty of sunshine. You're saying storms? What storms? Here they come. Might have to wait just a bit. It looks like 5:30, 6 o'clock to see a few of those rumbling across the Denver metro area. We're talking brief heavy rain showers, a little bit of lightning, some gusty winds, and then these storms start to push out. We still will, however, still have some lingering rain showers across the western slope late tomorrow night. Temperatures will top off into the low 90s here around the metro area, the eastern plains, some 60s and 70s up in the high country. The clouds come in, the storms come in, and they will help to cool us off. We will be even cooler on Friday with another round of storms, but the 90s, they are back for the weekend.
It's a sign to be careful no matter where you do your business. The sign outside the porta potties caught Beverly Johnson's attention so much she sent it to us. Hard hat area. Whew. That sounds rough in there. She spotted this off Rockhurst Drive in Highlands Ranch. A reminder to send us signs, even the very immature ones, because we like those too. Email next at 9news.com. Back with our chance this week to help older Coloradans get some help around their houses. Hot meals at the same time. That and your feedback next. If you knew of an older person who was alone and lonely, what would you do to help? I mean, I think all of us care. We're also busy and committed to a lot of things. So what do you say we pool a bunch of our $5 donations so that the fantastic volunteers and staff of Aging Resources of Douglas County can expand their program where they visit seniors who are struggling with both hunger and isolation? If you scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll shoot you that link to join me in donating to that nonprofit as they expand their work to more rural parts of Douglas County. They're also adding a new program that provides help around the house at the same time the hot meal is delivered, and even just the visits themselves means so much. Boy, we got a ton of feedback on student loan forgiveness tonight. Kimberly writes in with perspective saying the average PPP business loan forgiven was $109,000. Many to extremely wealthy corporations. Why the outrage for average people? John says, what happens to those of us who paid off the loans? I don't like handouts. What are they wanting exactly? B. Smith notes, rich Americans don't have student loans. We'll see you next time.